Hi guys, welcome to our live event. My name is Brenda KB Anderson and I'm a crochet designer, knit designer, sewing designer, and also instructor of all three of those things. And I'm very excited today to show you guys this really cute little project. So this is called the Tea Time Basket. You can see all my little tea bags in there. And it's just a little bit of crochet lace that we stiffen in the shape of this little basket. Perfect for holding your little tea bags for your next tea time. So this is kind of an unusual project. I don't think I've seen another crocheted version of this. I'm sure someone out there has probably made them before, but I really enjoy coming up with projects that are just something a little unusual and using some kind of unusual techniques from time to time. Like the stiffening of this crochet. So if you guys are interested in this type of project and sort of doing something a little more experimental, there are some other projects on the Creative Crochet Corner website where I've done things similar to this. I did a little photo frame where you crochet around basically like a little frame of cardboard, and then you can slip a picture in between, another area of crochet on the back, and then all the little points of the laciness are stiffened. It looks kind of like a little sun is what I had envisioned it to look like. I've also done something stiffened like this that was a snowflake for your Christmas tree. So this is not something that's new to me, is doing the stiffening stuff, but making a basket for tea bags is certainly new to me. So this is kind of a fun one, and I'm excited to show it with you guys, or share it with you guys. So looks like we've got some hellos already coming in. Hey to Tina in Oklahoma, and let's see, E.T. Dempsey says hello you all from Texas. Hi. And Araxi says, just want to say hello from San Diego. Hi, thanks for popping in and saying hi. Aw, and thanks for the compliments. Would it be possible to do a live event explaining the different types of crochet techniques? There's so many and it's confusing. Okay, yeah, I've been thinking about that. Somebody else had asked me for a live tutorial talking about different techniques of color work because there's already so many of just doing color work, like tapestry, mosaic, intarsia, all these different versions of that. So I'm already kind of cooking that one up, but I am happy to do another tutorial on different types of crochet. It could just be, let me know if there's anything like specifically that you're interested in, or I could also do an overall, like, here's some interesting and unusual types of crochet maybe you haven't tried kind of video, or something like that. Anyway. I love it when you guys make suggestions, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Lorraine says, hi from Westchester. Looking forward to this tutorial. Awesome. And Sandy's here. Hi, Sandy. Sandy from Austria. I've seen you around. I'm happy that you're back. Thank you for coming. Okay, so basically, for this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you the steps you need to know in order to crochet this thing, and then I'm actually going to show you the process of stiffening this as well. And you may be wondering how it gets to be this shape. Here, let me just pull these tea bags out of here. Those were just there so you guys could see they fit, and because it looked kind of pretty. But this is the bag. You can see it's pretty sturdy. It's not collapsing on itself. It's not all wiggly or anything. It's pretty stiff. I would say it's like about as stiff as straw. See, I can bend it a little and it kind of springs back into shape. If you sat on it, it might need to be re-stiffened. So it's not something that's like ultra durable in the way that like something that, well, probably even a plastic basket like this, you could probably crack it, but things can always be fixed later. Like if you did end up crushing it somehow, or you spilled some tea on it and you wanted to wash it and you got it wet, the water, I think, would start to, like, maybe at first it would be okay and you just have to let it dry, but you may need to reblock it or reshape it over this mold that we're going to be making in this class. Here's the mold. That's a fancy word for a box that's got tape on it, basically, is what we're going to be making. So that's the way, this is how you are able to get this particular shape, and it's going to be, the size that you want it to be. See how it sits on there? Because that's what it was. Actually, it's going to be a little harder for me to, there we go. That's actually how it dried on this box, and then, voila, it's the right size and shape. Nice crisp corners. All right, so we're going to be needing a little bit, some run-of-the-mill crochet materials here, but some also maybe not so run-of-the-mill stuff. So let's talk about the materials first. Okay, so obviously we're going to be needing something to crochet this out of. So this is made with a number 3 crochet thread, and this is a ball of it here, in another color, of course. So this crochet thread, I would not substitute, unless you do a little swatch and see how it stiffens, I would not substitute this with an acrylic or wool or something else, unless you are just willing to take that sort of a leap of not quite knowing if it's going to work and look exactly the same. You could try it, like if you had some sock yarn or something like that and you don't have any crochet thread and you just want to do a little sample and then stiffen it, you can go ahead and try that and see if you think it's going to work. I have not tested on that. I've only tested on this crochet thread, size 3 crochet thread, which is a mercerized cotton. It is fairly, there's no stretch to it. It's a pretty hard yarn. Like when you squish it, it's not very lofty, it's not very fluffy, it's just kind of dense. And that's really helpful, I think, in this project. Not only how it makes the lace look nice and crisp here, you can see all those little holes between your stitches, but also I just think it helps with, soaking up the fabric stiffener and becoming a nice rigid project, a nice rigid basket when you're done. So I would say err on the caution, even though usually I'm like, oh, you could substitute with all these different things. I would say err on the caution of that unless you do a little sample and stiffen it and you like how it's working out. And then you can report back to us and tell us if it worked. Okay, so we're going to be using just some size 3 crochet thread. You could get probably at least 3 baskets out of one of these balls of yarn. I do have the exact, my estimates for yardage amounts. Let's see, about 70 yards. Is all you really need. And we're going to be using this 3mm hook. And now I had a little note in here. I think 3mm might not be a standard size hook, but you just use something that's similar as, we all crochet differently. So maybe you'd be using a different hook anyway in order to get the same gauge that I have. And gauge actually is kind of important on this project because I have complete instructions on how to make this little box with tape and all these other things. So unless you want to do some more experimenting and a little bit more work and making your own mold for things, I would try your bestest to try and get your gauge to match my gauge. So I'm using this 3mm hook, but you could use, a 3.125. I can't remember what the standard millimeter sizes are, but it could be a little bigger or a little smaller, and you can go ahead and just try with that and see how your gauge is working out. So that's what I'm going to be using, and then so that's really all you need for the crochet part, except for a stitch marker, which will help you keep track of the beginnings of your rounds, and also will help you when you're kind of evenly distributing some stitches later. We'll get into that later. So a stitch marker would be helpful. If you don't have it, you can use safety pin or something like that. And then as far as creating the stiffened aspect of this basket, you're going to be needing something like this. This is a fabric stiffener and draping liquid is what it's called. But there's other kinds of fabric stiffener that should work just fine. I've used other fabric stiffeners for this type of thing. It works. I have also used Elmer's glue for this type of thing. Now I haven't tested on this exact project, but I have tested it on size 3 crochet thread before and got a very stiff and structured result, so I imagine that would work just fine. So if that's something that you already have at your house, you could just, try with that first. And I would say I wouldn't try using a spray starch or something like that. I think you really need something that's more like what you'll see here, because we're going to be squishing it into our stitches, and I just feel like we'll just stick to this for more predictable results. Unless anybody, excuse me, unless anybody has any more information about that for other people, other things you've used for this type of thing, then you can let us know in the comments. Okay. Okay, so we talked about that. Oh, you also might need a little bit of water if you're using this fabric stiffener. This was very thick, and I have used this before and didn't remember it being that thick, so I'm not sure if they changed the viscosity of it, or maybe I just am remembering it wrong, but I ended up using just a tiny amount of water for this as well. You're going to need a little bit of box board or cardboard. So we're going to be creating this box that's made out of this piece here. This I'm using was a cereal box. And I find it easy to work with just a box board because it's nice and thin, so it's easy for me to cut with my scissors, with my craft scissors. But you can certainly use a thicker, corrugated cardboard. That would work just fine too. But you'll need some sort of scrap, just kind of raid your recycling and see if you have a little piece of something stiff like this cardboard box board or something like that. You're also going to need to print out your part of your pattern. So at the end of your pattern, there are 3 pages that look like this. And so these are actually a template in order to make the box. So you'll just be laying these out. Here, I'll lay them out for you so you can see how they go together. But basically, they just go together matching those letters at the intersections of the pages. So we have A's here, AA, AA. And then we've got this piece right here, has B's on it. So that would go right here, like this. So you would place all of these pieces of paper together and then tape it over the intersections of your, where the pages come together. Just abut them right next to each other like that. Just the edges of the pages should be touching each other. And then you can go ahead and cut this out on that outer line. Okay, so just go ahead and cut that out after you've taped it together. Your piece will look like this. Okay, and you've got these little dashed lines that we should be paying attention to when we trace this on our box board. And we'll get to that a little bit more later in the assembly, but I just wanted to let you know you are going to be needing this template that comes from your download. It's in the back, like the last 3 pages or so of your download. Then make sure you print them out one-sided. I always make that mistake when I'm making sewing patterns or other things and I forget. And I have it on double-sided and then I'm sad. And then I have to reprint things. Or just add some more, I guess. I can always reuse those. All right. Oh, another thing you're going to need are some pins. Particularly, I really like using quilter pins for this instead of T-pins, which I find to be kind of thick. But a nice thin pin would be great. I like these quilter pins because they have a nice ball on the end, so they don't get lost. Also, just note that these pins will become your crafting pins after you use them. I do reuse these by scraping the glue off of them and rinse them. And so I'm not saying you absolutely can't reuse them because I do that all the time, but I don't really want to recommend to everyone that you can for sure use them because for some people they may end up rusting depending on your pins or other things like that. And you don't want to get rust on your projects, on your sewing projects. So just kind of put them in a jar and call them your crafting pins. That's what I do. I just have these pins in a jar that I use for this type of thing when I'm siphoning my projects. Alrighty. Okay. Looks like we're having some trouble with people seeing the video, but hopefully you guys are able to see it now. But if not, well, I mean, eventually you'll be able to see me. We'll get this all fixed and then you'll be able to see what's going on. All right. So oh, and of course you have your download here. So your download, this is the Tea Time Basket download. That's going to be free forever. And you can go ahead and download that and follow along. It's got all the instructions. It has the instructions for the stiffening. It's got picture tutorials. I mean, this is quite the little packet I made for you guys. So I also was a little concerned, this is a lot to get done in 1 hour. So I wanted to make sure the absolute full complete instructions are in there with pictures and everything else, just in case I have to kind of go quickly through some sections of this project. Okay, so you can see here I've got out this is a chart. I really love working from charts. It's my favorite, but all the written directions are in this pattern as well. So if you don't like charts, they're not your favorite, that's okay. You don't have to worry about the chart, but I'm going to be teaching from this chart because it helps me keep my place for the most part. So just to let you know. Okay, so now let's get started on crocheting some stuff. All right, so I'm going to take my crochet thread and make myself a slip knot. Place that on my hook, and then I'm going to chain 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, and now I'm going to start working in the bottom of my chain. So if you look at your chain and set it on the table, there's a bunch of little V's all stacked up. That's the top of your chain. Now if you roll it over, So you can see the back, there's all these little horizontal dashes on the back. Those are where we're gonna work under. That's the bottom of the chain. Some people call that the back of the chain, but I find that confusing, so I call it the bottom. All right, we're gonna skip that first horizontal dash right next to the hook, and we're gonna go underneath the second one, okay? And we're going to make a single crochet. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. There's our very first stitch of the row, and we're gonna continue working our way across that chain, making a single crochet into each of those chains. So insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, we're gonna do this all the way across, and you'll have a total of 13 single crochets when you're done, because that last chain that we made in the foundation chain, that just became a turning chain basically. It's not gonna count as a stitch. All right. Got a couple more stitches left here. There's our very last single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to turn our work just like we're turning a page in a book. And we're going to make a single crochet in each stitch across. Okay, so we're never going to work into that turning chain, so we're skipping that. And here's the very first stitch. And make a single crochet there and in each stitch across. All right, so we're going to be working a long rectangle. This is going to become the base of our basket. And this does take a while, you know, because it's fairly thin, but, you know, fairly thin yarn, I should say. But it's going to be worth it. By the time you get this little panel done, it's just going to fly off the hook after that, because all we have left is a bunch of lacy stuff. And as you know, lace is comprised with a large percentage of air, so it goes very quick. There we have the very last stitch right there. And then we would chain 1, turn our work like we're turning a page in a book, and work back and forth and back and forth. Okay, so we're gonna have a total of 42 rows. And your rectangle will look like this after you've finished. Okay, and if you're a little newer to crocheting, counting your rows, I find it easiest to count single crochet by 2s. So there's a little crack here between. There's another one there. There's another one there. You guys seeing these? So every one of those counts for 2 rows. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42. We've got 42 rows. Okay, and now at this point we're going to start working around and around and around. So this is going to be the base of our basket, the bottom of our basket, and we're going to start making the sides now. So I'm going to just rotate. So after we finish that last row, we're going to rotate our work here, and we're going to work across the edge here. So in order to know how to distribute those stitches, we're doing 35 stitches across. And in order to know how many to do, we're going to just fold this in half. Well, we know how many we're going to do. In order to know how, in order to evenly space them across the edge, this really helps, okay? So we're going to do 17 stitches to this point. The 18th stitch will go where the marker is, and then we're going to do 17 more stitches over here on this side, okay? So 17, 1, 17. And if you're having trouble with that as you're working on this, you can always further divide this. And so, 17 doesn't evenly divide exactly. So you would do, 8 here and then 9 here, or 9 here and 8 here, however you want to do it. But that'll kind of help you stay on track. So as I'm going to work across, I'm just, inserting my hook somewhere near the edge, making a single crochet. So that would be 1, stitch number 1. We're going to mark that. The stitch marker. There we go. And we're just going to continue working our way across. And there isn't a specific place to put your hook. But, if you look at how big these stitches are and compare them to the ones you're making, that's going to tell you if it's going to be about right. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You should be at about the halfway point. And now I'm thinking I may have been putting those a little too close together, so I'm going to pull out a couple of them. 8, 7, 6, 5. Let's start here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that looks a little better there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, so that's where we should be at. And then our 18th stitch is going to go about where that stitch marker was. There's our 18 stitches. And now we're going to do 17 here. 1, 2, I'm going to put the stitch marker back in just in case we need to pull back, rip back. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we should be at about the halfway point. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. All right. So we have 17 stitches, 1 where the mark stitch is, and 17 more single crochet stitches. So we've got a total of 35 along that side. Then we're going to rotate, and we're going to work a single crochet into each stitch across this. This is the foundation row here. So 1, whoops, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like, okay, hold on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I missed a stitch over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I'm going to add an extra stitch in here because somehow I missed one. 11, 12, 13. Now I could have gone back and figured out where my mistake was, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have 13 here, excuse me, 13 on the short ends and 35 on the long ends. Okay, so now we're at a long side and we're going to go ahead and do the same exact process. We're going to fold it in half, place our stitch marker at our halfway point. And I'm going to be crocheting over this little yarn tail so I don't have to weave it in later. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks okay. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then we'll place our 18th stitch about where that stitch marker was. That one got a little big. I'm going to shrink that stitch down there. There we go. So there's our 18th stitch. And now we're going to do 17 stitches here to the corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Looks like I'm going to run out of yarn, so I'm just going to add a little strand back in here. So when I do that, sometimes I'll just crochet with 2 for a little bit. All right, 15, 16, and 17. There we go, whoops. There we are. Okay, now we've reached the short side, so we're going to do 13 single crochets across that short side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. All right, so we've made it all the way around, and now we're going to start our next round. And actually, let me see what I got here. Yep, okay. I'm going to, so the next round we're gonna go ahead, we don't, after working that first round, we're just gonna go ahead and start working 2 more rounds of single crochet. So you don't have to do a join here. You can just start making a single crochet into that first single crochet that we had marked, just like that. And then you just go all the way around. So 2 times, so 1 and 2. And when you get all the way around, your piece will look like this. Let's see. That's where my very last stitch was. Here is the first stitch of the round. And so at this point, we are actually going to start working in joined rounds. So we're going to make a slip stitch into that first, let me just show you what it looks like. So there we have all those rows that we worked at the bottom, and you can see it's starting to form those sides, starting to kind of turn up around those corners. All right, so now we're going to make a slip stitch into that very first stitch right there to begin. And I'm going to pull my chart in here because this is where I start to rely on my chart to remind me where we're at. So we're right here, we've just done our slip stitch. We're going to chain 1 and do a half double crochet into the same stitch that we joined in, and then we're gonna work around. Now, if this is a little new to you reading from a chart like this, you can see not every stitch is represented in this chart. It's not representing every single stitch that is in this entire basket, right? But it's representing the repeats in the chart. So you can see for round number 4, anywhere there's a little number, that's telling you where the beginning of the round starts. Okay, so the beginning of the round is right here and right here in the chart. This is round number 4, and you're gonna basically continue working this until you're pretty much at the end of your project. Just imagine this loops around somewhere, and then we come back in, and this is showing you how to finish up that round. Basically what you have here is you have the start of your round, you go this way, and then it's just showing you how to stop doing those repeats, like how to end your round, if that's, you know, that's one way to think about it. Okay, so we did our slip stitch join, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're gonna work a half double crochet into that very same stitch where we did our join, which is right here. So to do a half double crochet, you'd yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. That's our very first stitch of round number 4. We're going to place that crochet hook back in there. And then we're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then a half double crochet into the following stitch. So chain 1, skip a stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and then half double crochet. The half double crochet, remember, is yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up. There's 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 3. Okay, so you're going to continue working in this stitch pattern where you do a half double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet. You're going to do this all the way around, okay? And your piece will look like this. Oh, let me back up because I did join this. So let's back up to the very last stitch of the round. Okay, so we did our half double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet, and there's nothing left to work because we'd be skipping 1, and we're going to join in the top of that very first half double crochet, which is right here. So just pull through. That is our, oops, I think I forgot to do a chain 1. I did. Okay, so after that last half double crochet, we chain 1, skip that last stitch, join in the top of the very first half double crochet of the round, like that. Okay, and now we're going to start round number 5. So round number 5, we're going to do 2 single crochets into that first chain 1 space. So in this round, we're only working into the chain spaces between stitches. Okay, so these little holes. So we're going to start off with 2 single crochets here. So 1 and 2. I'm going to put a stitch marker in that very first single crochet. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets into the next chain 1. So right in the chart, we're right here, 2 and 2, and now we're going to chain 8, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So we're going to make 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're going to skip 2 chain spaces. So skip this one, and here's the next one, and we're going to work a single crochet in that chain space right there. That makes a little loop. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 chain 1 spaces. So there's 2 single crochets, 2 single crochets, and 2 single crochets. And now we're going to repeat. So we're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, skip 2 chain 1 spaces, single crochet, just 1 goes in there, and then the next 3 chain 1 spaces, there's going to be 2 single crochets in each of those. So 2, 2, and 2. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip 2 chain 1 spaces, skip, skip, and a single crochet into the next chain 1 space. And then 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, whoops, 1 and 2. Now we have 8 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip, skip, single crochet. And then 2 single crochets in the next one, and in the next one, 2 single crochets, and in the next one, 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the next 2 chain 1 spaces, 1 single crochet into the following chain 1 space, 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 chain 1 spaces. So here's the second one, here's the third one. Okay, so if you look at this, we've got that chain 8, and then we have 1 single crochet, 2, 2, and 2. So we have a total of 7 single crochets kind of in this group, and then those 8 chains in between, okay? So we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip 2 chain 1 spaces, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1, 2 in the next, 2 in the next, oops, and 2 in the next. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip 2 chain 1 spaces, single crochet, 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 chain 1 spaces. And we're almost all the way around here. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip 2, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and we're going to end with 2 single crochets into the last chain 1 space, and then we're going to make a slip stitch to join in that very first single crochet that we had marked. So we'll slip stitch right there on the top of that single crochet, just like that. And when I do this, sometimes I will pull on this to make that joining slip stitch, which is right here, be really small, because that helps me to not work into that ever again. And it just kind of tightens things up a little bit. I've started doing that little habit lately, and I feel like it makes things a little bit easier for me. All right, so now we're gonna start round number 6, which is right here on our chart. Round number 6, we're gonna start out with a double crochet, chain 2 into this chain loop here. So we're starting right here, and this is the chain loop we're gonna be working in. Basically on this round, we're working into those large chain spaces, and then we're just doing one little slip stitch in between, you know, in the 4th of those single crochets, right in the center of those 7 single crochets. So we're going to do a double crochet here in that chain 8 space. So there's our first double crochet. That got a little bit stretched out up here. I'm going to tighten that loop up a little. There we go. Let's try that again. There's our double crochet. And chain 2, and now we're going to repeat that again. So double crochet, chain 2. Now we're going to do another double crochet, and this time we're going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We're right at the center top of that arch. Now we're going to do double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and then we're going to end with a double crochet. Okay, so this is what your piece should look like. Got all those double crochets, and then sometimes you have to just sort of even this out a little bit. Like, let me pull this out of here for a second so you guys can see how it's all sort of tilting that way. I'm going to just slide these double crochets over a little bit, like that. Okay, so because that chain 3, which is right here, that slightly larger space, that should be at the very top of this arch. All right, so now we're going to do that slip stitch in that 4th single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. So slip stitch, and then we're going to repeat. So double crochet in the chain 8 space, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and here's our 3rd double crochet. Now we chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and we're going to end with 1 more double crochet in there. Okay, so we have, every time we work into those chain 8 spaces, we're really making 6 double crochets, and each of those are spread out by chains. So we've got 2 chains, 2 chains, 3 chains, 2 chains, 2 chains. And then we're going to make that slip stitch right in the middle of that group of 7 single crochets, right there. And now we're going to keep repeating. So double crochet, I'm going to try and work a little faster here. Chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure if I did a double crochet in slow-mo yet for you guys, but just in case you're newer to this and you don't know how to do a double crochet, you do a yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay? Then we're going to chain 2 and another double crochet, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we've got 2 more chains, and then we're going to end with the last double crochet in that chain 8 space right there. Slip stitch in the middle of that group of single crochets and repeat. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 3, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And then we slip stitch right in the middle of those 7 single crochets and repeat for the next side here. Let's see if I missed any questions here. I call it the spine because it looks like a vertebrate. Oh, the spine. I bet you're talking about the back side of the crochet chain, right? Is that mouse on the right? Is that what you mean? Now I'm going to always think of that. That is so funny, and it totally does. Oh, thanks for the compliments, you guys. Oh, we've got someone who it's their first time here. The BLK doll, welcome. I'm glad you found us. I'm glad you're here. And Claire says, let's see, Voget. I'm not sure what that means, Claire. Let me know if I missed something. Let's see. Oh, we have someone wondering if everyone's crocheting along. Yes, it's really kind of impossible to crochet along with this particular project live because there's no way you could have like speed crocheted through that as fast as, that's why I have all these samples ready because I'm trying to show you guys so much stuff during this one little hour time slot that we have. So sometimes my projects you can crochet along with me in real time, but a lot of times I have these little partially made samples to kind of hurry it up. And you can always, you can come back and watch it later. Also, you can just put me on pause for a while later. So that way you can, get a chance to catch up. Sorry about that. All right, so we've got a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. And we'll do our little slip stitch here in the middle. We've got 3 more repeats maybe. There's 8 repeats around this basket. So 1, double crochet, here's the second double crochet, here's the third double crochet, 1, 2, 3 chains at the top. There's the next double crochet, chain 2, next double crochet, chain 2, next double crochet. And slip stitch in the middle of this group. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, 3, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And here's our little slip stitch That's what it's looking like so far. We have one more of those little arches to make, and then we can move on to the next round. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, whoops, chain 2, 3. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. All right. And then we've reached the end of round number 6. Let's see. Yeah, 6, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then we're going to make a slip stitch into the top, I think the top of this double crochet, but let me just refer to the instructions and make sure. Oh yeah. Okay. We're going to slip stitch into, you can slip stitch right down here where you started, or you can just slip stitch right into that first double crochet of the very round. That's actually what the instructions are telling you to do, and that works just fine. Basically, what we want to slip stitch somewhere in the middle there so that our arch comes down to wherever we're slip stitching to, right in the middle there. Okay, so now to start on round number 7, we're going to be working these little dots in our chart refer to slip stitches. So we're going to do 2 slip stitches in that first chain space and 1 slip stitch into the next chain space. So here's our first chain space right there. Okay, and be careful because you might be wondering if this is a chain space. There's like a little window here, but this is actually not a chain space. This was the first double crochet that we did of the round, and there was no chain before that. So we did a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 3, right? So this is our first chain space. This is a chain 2 space, chain 2 space, chain 3 space. Okay, just so you guys know. So we're going to do 2 slip stitches, 1 and 2 in that first chain space, and now we're going to the second chain space and doing 1 slip stitch there. Then we're going to chain 1. That's not going to count as anything. That's just a way to get us up to the height of our single crochets that we're going to start making. So now we're right here in the chart. We're going to do 2 single crochets into that same chain 2 space, and we're going to do 5 single crochets into the chain 3 space at the top of that arch, and 2 single crochets into this chain 2 space. Okay, so we'll have 2 single crochets here, 1 and 2, and then we're going to do 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. And now we're going to do 2 right here. So 1 and 2. Okay, so we have 2, 5, 2. And those are the chain spaces that we're actually going to be working into. We're going to get over to the next arch, we're going to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to hop over here. And you can see here's that chain 3 space at the center. We're going to work 2 single crochets here, 5 here, and 2 here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do 2 right here, 1 and 2. Okay, so we've got 2, 5, 2. And then we're going to hop over to the next one with 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're hopping over to the next arch. Just take a look at your arch. You find that center chain 3 space that's bigger than the others, and you're going to work into that chain 2 space right before it. So 2 single crochets here, 1 and 2, 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 here, 1 and 2, and then we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hop over to the next. So 2 here, 1 and 2, 5 here, 1, 2, whoops, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 single crochets here, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hop to the next arch, 2 here, 5 single crochets here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we've got 2 single crochets here in the next chain 2 space. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hop to the next arch. 2 single crochets. And 5 here. 2 single crochets here, 1 and 2. Hop to the next arch with 5 chains, 3, 4, and 5. And 2 single crochets here. 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 2 single crochets here. Hop to the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. This is our last arch. So we've got 2 single crochets, chain 5, 5 single crochets. 3, 4, and 5 single crochets, and 2 single crochets here. And then we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here we are in our chart right here. And then we're going to start by making slip stitches for the next round. So let's do a little slip stitch here in the first single crochet we made. Okay, remember when we first started this round, we did some slip stitches. That was just to reposition us to start on the 2 single crochets, 5 single crochets, 2 single crochets thing. So the very first single crochet, we're just gonna make a slip stitch right there into that first single crochet of the round. Okay, so that completes that little hopping over to that section. And we're right here on the chart, and we're going to make, let's see, on the next round right here. Okay, so we're gonna slip stitch 1, 2, 3, 4 more times till we get to the center of those single crochets, if that makes sense. So we're gonna slip stitch in the next stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch, and here is the center single crochet of those 5 single crochets right there, the very center, the top. That's where we're gonna basically you just slip stitch your way right up to there. And then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And now we're gonna do some half double crochets. So these T symbols right here, those are your half double crochets. So we're gonna do 7 half double crochets into that chain 5 space. So let's do that. There's our chain 5 space. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. So that's the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. There's our 7 half double crochets there. That's right here in our chart. Then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. We're going to hop over to that center single crochet of this group of 5 single crochets right in the middle. You're just making a slip stitch right up at the middle top right there, okay, to join your chain 2, 2. So we're going to chain 2, 7 half double crochets into this arch. So 1, or into the chain space rather, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, chain 2, slip stitch in the top of that group of 5, chain 2, and then 7 half double crochets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, chain 2, slip stitch to the top of those center of those 5 single crochets, chain 2, and 7 half double crochets. Basically, we're just repeating. Those 7 half double crochets always go into those long chain 5 spaces, and then we're doing 2 chains on either side of these new arches that we're making, and we're securing them with a slip stitch in the middle of that group of 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's see. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, chain 2, slip stitch, chain 2, and 7 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slip stitch. Oops, I forgot my chain 2. Chain 2, slip stitch. All right, so just in the interest of time, I'm going to skip ahead a little to the end of the round. After you're just going to continue that all the way around to the end. You can see here on our chart, this is our last group of 5 half double crochets that we're going to be working. And then we're going to just go ahead and make those chain 2s and slip stitch to the very first, like to the top of the next arch. So what I mean, when you're working your way around, you're going to keep going. Here's the beginning of our round. You're going to finish with those 5 half double crochets in that last arch right there. Then you're going to chain 2, and you're going to make your slip stitch right here. So that was the beginning where we started our 2 chains. Like this is we slip stitched up to this top point. That's where you're going to slip stitch to again. So you're going to slip stitch right to there. So in your chart, it's right here. Then we're ready to start the next round, which is right there, begins right here. Okay, so let me show you this next round here. So on this next round, we're kind of doing the same thing that we already did. Let me get back to so I've already got most of this round worked because I was worried I was going to run out of time, which is happening now. So I'm going to skip a little bit further ahead, but right here on the beginning of round number 9, so you can see there's the 9 where we're starting. We're going to have a half double crochet worked into each one of those half double crochets. Okay, so we've got a half double crochet worked into each one of those half double crochets, and they're separated by a chain 1 space. So when you first start, after you've done your slip stitch join, you're going to do a half double crochet, chain 1, and then a half double crochet into the next half double crochet, chain 1. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that looks like over here. So we're going to pretend, even though this is almost all the way around, we're going to pretend that we're at the beginning of our round. Let's see. And we just did our last join, so this is what it would look like when you're starting round number 9. Let's see. Yeah. So you're going to yarn over, insert into that very first half double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, that's your first half double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to work into the next half double crochet, another half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, chain 1. So we're working into each half double crochet as they come up, and we're making a half double crochet, chain 1 into each of those, okay? Half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, and then once you've finished that, you would do your slip stitch right down, to the top of that group of 5 single crochets and we had done a slip stitch in there already, we're going to do another slip stitch right into the top of that. Okay, so that's going to be sort of where the scallop comes down to, or that little arch comes down to. Okay, so right now we're at the very end of our round, so you'll do that all the way around. When you get to the end of your round, you're going to go ahead and do that last slip stitch just like you have been into that same area, the top of those 5 single crochets just above that. And then you go ahead and just cut your yarn and pull that through and go ahead and just weave in any yarn tails that you have. Okay, so now you have this sort of floppy basket. Okay, that's what it looks like. And then, so you weave in your tails. I already did that on my, let's see, where's my next? Here we go. Here's my next sample. So this one I already wove the tails in, and then you're going to create this box shape. Okay, so before I talked a little bit about how to, put your pattern together. So you'll tape those pieces together like I told you, and then you'll cut that out and you'll have a piece that looks like this. Then you're going to take this and trace it onto your box board. So I already did that step for us. So I just used a pencil. Excuse me. Okay, so I have, this is my template. I traced it out on my box board. Just trace around it in pencil, cut it out of your box board or cardboard, whatever it is you're using. And then you'll need to transfer these little dashed lines onto your piece. So you'll notice that this dashed line, this corresponds with these edges here. So you can just go ahead. You don't really need to like trace anything or anything like that, but you can just take your ruler and line it up here, and then, there we go. And then go ahead and just trace that, or draw that line in between, okay? And you're gonna do the same thing right here on this side as well. Or if you don't have a ruler, you can use the edge of a cardboard, of anything that's straight, notebook, whatever you got. Okay, and then there's going to be a line here as well. So these lines that we're drawing on here, these are your folding lines to make your box. And we're gonna score them just to make folding your box a little easier. And here is our last line is right there. So you're gonna, in order to get this line, you're going to have to refer to this. So you can lay it, whoops, you can lay your piece on like that. And you can just fold this along the line and trace it like that in order to get that line on your cardboard, okay? And then the next thing you can do is do just a little, if you have an X-Acto knife, that works great, or if you just wanna use scissors and just be careful, this is what I do. I just open my scissors up. Now, do not hold onto your scissors like this. That's a sharp blade. Well, this is not sharp because these are my craft scissors, but don't use your sharpest scissors. But just kind of hold it open like this and delicately run it along that line. If you have a straight edge next to you, that can just help you, be your guide. You can use that. And you're just gonna do like, you're not cutting through it, you're just scoring it so that way it has a place to fold. It knows where to fold. Okay, so you're just giving it a little, you're just touching it lightly. You're not really, you don't have to press down. This one I don't even need to do because it ended up in one of the fold lines that was already from my cereal box, so I'm not worried about that one, but I'm gonna do these 3 as well. So I'm just gonna eyeball that one. They don't need to be perfect, but just kind of score it a little bit on that line. I'm not pressing too hard. I'm not trying to cut through my box. I'm just kind of making a little indentation, basically. Okay, then you can take your box and fold it. So I'm gonna fold it so that I see brown on the outside because I feel like it's too distracting to make sure you have everything pinned on it correctly when you don't even have, when you can't see what you're doing and there's too much talking about cereal there. It just makes me wanna go get a little bit of cereal and put it in a bowl instead. So I'm folding these where I scored them, and then I'm gonna go ahead and tape this all together like Oh, I forgot to mention you need packing tape for this project. I forgot that it is in the materials list in your download, but I didn't mention that earlier. So you're gonna go ahead and just tape these pieces together to create your box. And leave one side open. Normally I leave one of these little short sides open, but I wasn't thinking just now, and I'm going to leave this side open instead, which is fine. Doesn't really work. It doesn't really matter either way. And then we are going to put waste paper or some kind of paper, recycling paper, whatever, inside the box. And the reason I like to do this is because we're going to pin into our box, and this helps our pins just have a little bit of stability. So let's see, I will tear this into smaller pieces. And there are complete instructions in your download for this, so I know I'm going kind of quickly through the end of this project, but just know that there's pictures and complete instructions as well. Okay, this doesn't need to be packed super, you don't want to put so much in there that your box is bulging open or anything like that, but you do want to have enough in there so that, just imagine if you poked a pin through, you wouldn't want the end of the pin being able to wiggle around in there. You just want it to go into the paper. It just helps make your box a little sturdier as well too. Okay, so you're just going to finish taping up your box. And my box is just a little uneven up here, which, here, I'm gonna shift this over. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of, actually, I can just cut that off, but if that was sticking out, that was just a little bit raised, it wouldn't matter because that can be the top of the box when we're using it as a mold. I'll show you in a minute. You don't have to be super precise about this, but okay, so you're gonna tape every section of this box. Once you get it taped into a box shape, then you're going to cover the whole thing in packing tape, like all of the surfaces covered in packing tape. And the reason we're doing that is because you're going to put the fabric stiffener on here, and you don't want it to soak into your box to make your box all soggy, first of all. And also you don't want your fabric stiffener to stick to the paper of this box. So you're going to cover the whole surface, everything in that packing tape. You can see this looks like almost like a plastic box now, okay? We just cover every surface and just do it, take a little piece of tape, fold it around, try to do it neatly so you don't have like chunks of tape hanging off, but you can always cut those off if you end up with like little bits sticking out or something like that. So then you'll have this little perfectly made box. And then the next step is to take your project, and you can do this on a plate, you can do this on a piece of wax paper. I really like to do this in a plastic bag because it is mess free this way. So what I do is I just squeeze a little bit, like 2 or 3 tablespoons full of your fabric stiffener or glue, whichever you're using. So I'm gonna try, see that my fabric stiffener is very thick. Almost like, it's thinner than toothpaste, but I just need a little blob of that in there. And I feel like it's not gonna mush into all the holes in my fabric, so I'm going to take a little bit of water and add it in there. So again, you can do this on a paper plate. You can do it on a piece of wax paper, but you just want to make sure you mix those things together so you don't have water running off of your wax paper. Now this doesn't need to be perfectly mixed before you put the crochet in there, because you can mush it around once you get it put in there. So I'm just going to this is the one where I woven in the ends already. I'm going to zip this up, although you probably don't need to. I'm just squeezing the air out of it. And then you can just kind of mush it around in here until the whole thing is fully saturated. And what you want is it to be fully saturated, but not like globs dripping off of it or anything like that, okay? And sometimes that may require you to, I think I might need to add a little more water in here because I feel like this is not thin enough. I'm gonna add a little more water here. Maybe, I probably added almost the same amount of water. Well, no, probably about half as much water as I had fabric stiffener. But I think this will just depend on how thick your fabric stiffener is. I just felt like I was mushing it together and it was not soaking into my project how I wanted it to. Like it was just sort of sitting on the bottom of the bag, being all gluey. So having it in this bag like this really helps to be able to mush it around and get it. I'm gonna squeeze some more of the air out of here. Let's see, how are we doing in here? Pretty good. I'm gonna add a little tiny bit more water. I just feel like it isn't. What I'm looking at is, let me just show you. What I'm looking at is when I mush this around, there are areas that are completely covered and look very, very white right here. And it just feels like it's not fully soaking in certain areas probably because it was really thick right there. But adding that little bit of water should help it soak this up a little better. And here's another reason that I would be wary of substituting with something that is not a mercerized cotton, because I feel like this is a lot of mushing it in and it might start making anything like a wool or some other fiber, it might make it kind of fuzzy looking. I don't know. I mean, I guess it can't be fuzzy if you have fabric stiffener in it. But okay, so this looks pretty good. We're gonna pull it out. It's not dripping. It isn't. I think I would mix this around just a little more because it's so thick in that one spot. Here, I'm gonna see if I can just soak some of it up with this. I'm gonna add just a little bit more water in here. Okay. Oh yes, Tina asked about what I'm using. It's the Eileen, I'll bring it in here so you guys can see, but it is listed as a material in your download, so you can have access to that. But any kind of fabric stiffener should work just fine. Okay, so now this is fully saturated. I feel like it's pretty well mixed around, and then we're gonna just place it on our box. Now, this box, if you look at the end of it, you can see it's a rectangle, not a square. The longer distance here, that is actually the height of the box. So if it's sitting on your table like this with the shorter, let me hold it this way. So here's the height of your box right here. Okay, so this is the bottom surface of your box. I'm gonna put that bottom surface on the table, and then I'm just gonna place my box on top, or my basket on top of the box like this. And take the time to you're basically blocking it here. You're just gonna mush it around till your corners are in the spot that you want them to be in, so everything looks really nice. And then you can use your crafty pins. Let me just wipe some of that off with my fingers. You can use your little crafty pins to pin these sections up to kind of open up those holes in the lace like this. And what I'm doing is I'm eyeballing maybe about 1/2 inch or so away from the top of the box, but you can shape it however you like. You know, this is sort of where the finessing part of this project comes in. And make sure you pull up the ones on the corners as well. And you're just gonna put your pins in to hold that in place while this dries. And like I said before, you know, you can't you know, washing this is going to get the fabric stiffener wet, and so it's going to become flexible again. I would not recommend washing it in with anything else, but if you do spill on it and it doesn't, you know, you need to do something to clean it, I think I would wash it in like a little bucket with just some warm water, hand wash it. You can use soap in it, however you normally would clean it, and then you'll have to block this again. You'll have to stiffen it again because probably most of the stiffener will wash out during that process. But your piece isn't ruined. All your hard crochet work is not ruined. So, you know, if this is something you're anticipating having a wild tea party and everyone's spilling your tea on your beautiful basket, you may want to just hang on to this box somewhere if you have room for it in your house, or just hang on to the plant, you know, the template for it so you can make a new one just in case. But yeah, I haven't washed mine, and I've had it for a while. I've been using it on the counter for a while, but we haven't had any wild tea parties. Okay, so you know, normally I would put like 2 or 3 pins in the top of each of these, because if you do one, it kind of makes it into a point. That one actually is not turning into a point, but it's just, you know, something you might want to consider to have. The more pins you have, the less angular it will be and more gentle curves that you can give it. Okay. So this is what that should look like when you get it all pinned on. And then you just leave it upside down somewhere on a piece of paper and let it dry. And for me, it just took a couple of hours, but I also think I had a fan on it because I was impatient. You could try that. But yeah, it just takes a little while to dry, and then you end up with this beautiful basket like this. All right, let me just check through here and see if I missed anything. Okay. Is there any home ingredients like sugar, egg whites, or starch to make it stiff? Is fabric stiffener permanent? Okay, so yes, you can wash it. Like I was saying earlier, you can wash it, but it's gonna take, I think you're gonna have to block it again on this, and also it might come off on something else, so hand wash it separately, and then you probably wanna add some fabric stiffener back into it. This is not the kind of thing that's really meant to be washed, really. Kind of think of it as a straw basket. I mean, I guess you can kind of spot clean it a little bit, but you know, it's not going to be ruined if you wash it. It's just, it's a process to get it back to how it was before. So you'll have to wash it separately with detergent and water, and then put the stiffener in it again and block it over your box, or, you know, do this whole process again. But, you know, that doesn't take as long as crocheting another basket. So you know, it's not like the basket is lost. Let's just see here. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And about the sugar, egg whites, and starch, I don't know. I haven't tested that out. You could definitely do a little sample. If you do end up doing a sample, you can write in the comments if it worked for you. This, I wanted it to be quite stiff, and so I used this fabric stiffener because I knew that I've used that before, and I knew that I could get something very stiff. I've also used white glue for something like this. I feel pretty confident that you could use white glue, like Elmer's glue, for this, but I'm not sure about the egg whites and starch. That's something you just have to experiment with, or maybe if somebody else in here tries it, then they could leave us a note. All right, don't invite the Mad Hatter, says Tina. Yeah, exactly, Mad Hatter. You stay away from my pristine lace basket. Thank you very much. All right, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys showing up in the comments and being so interested in this project. I hope you guys have fun making it. It is a fun, kind of unusual project to make, and people will be like, how did you do that? You know, because it's a stiff little crochet lace basket. Pretty exciting. All right, thanks you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you in my next live. Bye everybody.